What's good, horror? This is your boy Horror Gamer, and we are back with another Horror Gamer Reads. And the last time, which I know it's been a while, guys, but the last time we were reading Resident Evil City of the Dead, and shit started popping off big time. So let's see where the story takes us this time. Let's get it, guys. That is right, Horror Horde. The last time we were in this book, Leon had just gotten into the city and he was basically being attacked by zombies. Like, he found the zombie on the ground and she all like, and then, you know what I'm saying? So he's fighting for survival now. So let's just dive into chapter 4 and let's just dive into the story and see what the fuck's going on. I'm really interested in seeing what's happening with Raccoon City at this point. We good. So let's do this. Chapter 4. So much for the nightlife. This place is Deadsville. Claire had seen a couple of people wandering around as she pulled into Raccoon, though not nearly as many as there should have been. In fact, the place seemed spectacularly deserted. The helmet blocked out a lot of visual evidence, but there was definitely a lack of business going on at the east end of the town. A lack of traffic as well. It struck her as weird, but considering the disaster she's been imagining all afternoon, not all that ominous. Raccoon still existed, at least, and as she headed for the 24-hour diner off Powell, she had a fairly large group of partiers walking down the middle and side of the street. Drunken frat boys. If she remembered her last visit clearly, obnoxious but hardly the horsemen of the apocalypse. No bombed out ruins, no dying fires, no air raid sirens. So far so good. She planned to head straight for Chris's apartment before she realized that she'd be passing Emmy's on the way. Chris couldn't cook worth a damn. Consequently, he lived on cereal, cold sandwiches, and dinner at Emmy's about 6 nights a week. Even if he wasn't there, it might be worth it to stop in and ask one of the waitresses if they'd seen him lately. As Claire pulled the Softail to a gentle stop in front of Emmy's, she noticed a couple of rats scurrying for cover from atop a garbage can on the sidewalk. She put down the stand and unstraddled the bike, taking off her helmet and setting it on the warm seat. Shaking out her ponytail, she wrinkled her nose in disgust. From the smell of things, the trash had been sitting out for quite a while. Whatever they were throwing away gave off a serious toxic stink. Before going in, she chafed her bare legs and arms lightly, as much to warm them as to wipe off the layer of road grime. Shorts and a vest were no match for the October night, and it reminded her once again of how dumb she'd been to ride bare. Chris would have given her one hell of a lecture. But not here. The building's glass front gave her a clear look at the well-lit, homey restaurant. From the bolded red stools at the lunch counter to the padded booths lining the walls, and there wasn't a soul in sight. Claire frowned, her initial disappointment giving to confusion. Having visited Chris pretty regularly over the last few years, she'd been to the diner at all hours of the day and night. They were both night owls, often deciding to go out for cheeseburgers at 3 in the morning, which meant Emmy's every time. And there was always someone at Emmy's, chatting with one of the pink polyester-clad waitresses, or hunched over a cup of coffee with a newspaper, no matter what time it was. So where are they? It's not even 9 o'clock. The sign said open, and she wasn't going to find out standing in the street. With a last glance at her bike, she opened the door and stepped inside. Taking a deep breath, she called out hopefully, "Hello? Anybody here?" Her voice seemed somewhat flat in the muted silence of the empty restaurant. Except for the soft hum of the ceiling fans overhead, there wasn't a sound. There was the familiar smell of stale grease in the air, but something else, too. A scent that was bitter and yet soft, like rotting flowers. The restaurant was L-shaped, booths stretching off in front of her and to the left. Walking slowly, Claire headed straight. At the end of the lunch counter was the wait station, and past that, the kitchen. If Emmy's was open, the staff would probably be hanging out there, maybe as surprised as she was that there were no customers. Except that wouldn't explain the mess, would it? It was a mess, exactly. The disorder was subtle enough that she hadn't even noticed it from outside. A few menus on the floor, an overturned water glass on the counter, and a couple of randomly strewn pieces of silverware were the only signs of something amiss. But they were enough. To hell with checking on the kitchen. This is too weird. Something is seriously fucked up in this city. Or maybe they got robbed. Or maybe they're setting up for a surprise party. Who cares? Time for you to be elsewhere. From the hidden space at the end of the counter, she heard a gentle sound of movement, a sliding whisper of cough, followed by a muffled grunt. Somebody was there, ducked down. Heart thumping loudly, Claire called out again, "Hello?" For a beat, there was nothing, and then another grunt, a muted moan that raised the hair on the back of her neck. In spite of her misgivings, Claire hurried towards the back, suddenly feeling childish for her desire to leave. Maybe there had been a robbery. Maybe the customers had been tied up and gagged, or even worse, so badly injured that they couldn't cry out. Like it or not, she was involved. Claire reached the end of the counter, pivoted left, and froze, her eyes wide, feeling as though she'd been physically slapped. Next to a cart loaded with trays was a balding man dressed in a cook's whites, his back to her. He was crouched over the body of a waitress, but there was something very wrong about her. So wrong that Claire's mind couldn't quite accept it at first. Her shocked gaze took in the pink uniform, the walking shoes, even the plastic name tag still pinned to the woman's chest. What looked like Julie or Julia. Her head was missing. Once Claire realized that what was wrong, she couldn't force herself to unrealize it. As much as she wanted to, there was only a pool of drying blood where the waitress's head should have been. A sticky puddle surrounded by fragments of skull and dark mashed hair and chunks of miscellaneous gore. The cook had his hands over his face as Claire stared in horror at the headless corpse, he let out a low, pitiful wail. Claire opened her mouth, not sure what would come out. To scream, to ask him why, how to offer to call for help, she honestly didn't know. And as the man turned to look up at her, hands dropping away, she was stunned to hear that nothing came out at all. He was eating the waitress. His thick fingers were clotted with dark bits of tissue. The strange and alien face he raised into view was smeared with blood. Zombie. A child of late-night creature features and campfire stories, her mind accepted it in a split second. It took for her to think it. She wasn't an idiot. She was deathly pale and ripe, with that sticky sweat. He was deathly pale and ripe, and with the sticky sweet scent of decay she noticed earlier. His eyes cataracted and gleaming white. Zombies and raccoon. I never expected that. With that calm, logical realization came a sudden rush of absolute terror. Claire stumbled backwards, feverishly panicked, turning her guts into liquid as the cook continued to turn, raising from his crouch. He was huge, easily a foot over her 5'3", and broad as a barn, and dead. He's dead, and he was eating her. Don't let him get any closer. The cook took a step toward her, his stained hands clenching into fists. Claire backed up faster, almost slipping on a menu. A fork clattered away from beneath one boot. Get out now. I'll be on my way now, she babbled. Really, don't bother to show me out. The cook staggered forward, his blind eyes glowing with dumb hunger. Another step back, and Claire reached behind her, felt air, felt nothing, and then the cool metal of the door handle. A shot of adrenaline triumph bolted through her as she spun, snatched the handle, and screamed. A short, sharp cry of horror. There were 2, 3 more of them outside. Their disgusting, disintegrating flesh pressed to the glass front of the diner. The glass front of the diner. One of them had only one eye, and a gaping hole where the other should have been. Another had no upper lip, a ragged, permanent grin scrawled across the lower jaw. They clawed mindlessly at the windows, their ashy, ravaged faces awash with blood, and from the shadows across the street, dark shapes shambled out into the open. Can't get out, trapped. Jesus, the back door. From the edge of her vision, the glowing green exit sign shone like a beacon. Claire spun again and barely saw the cook reaching out to her from a few feet away, her full attention fixating on the only hope of escape. She ran, the boots whipping by in a flash of unseen color, her arms pumping for speed. The door opened, and out of the alley she was going to hit it, running, and if it was locked, she was screwed. Claire slammed into the door, and it flew open, crashing into the brick wall of the alley. And there was a gun pointed at her face, the only thing that could possibly have stopped her at that second. A man with a gun. She froze, raising her arms instinctively, as if to ward off the blow. Wait, don't shoot. The gunman didn't move, the deadly-looking weapon still aimed at her head. Gonna kill me. Get down, the gunman shouted, and Claire dropped, her knees buckling as much from the command as from the cold fingertips suddenly groping her shoulder. Boom, boom. The gunman fired, and Claire snapped her head around, saw the dead cook falling backwards from directly behind her, at least one massive hole now in his forehead. Sluggish spurts of blood jetted from the wound, the white eyes filming over with red. The fallen corpse twitched once, twice, and stopped moving. Claire turned back to the man who'd saved her life, and his uniform registered for the first time. Cop. He was young, tall, and almost as terrified looking as she felt. His upper lip beaded with sweat, his blue eyes wide and unblinking. His voice, at least, was strong and sure, as he reached down to help her up. "We can't stay out here. Come with me. We'll be a lot safer at the police station." As he spoke, she could hear a closing chorus of gasping moans from the street, the wails of hunger growing louder. Claire let herself be pulled up, gripping his hand tightly, taking small comfort in the fact that his fingers were as feverishly and shaky as hers. They ran, dodging dumpsters and heaps of flattered boxes, chased by echoing, haunted cries as the zombies found the dark alley and started after them. Holy shit! Almost to a T what it was like in the game. I love it. I love it. Even the dialogue. And guys, I'm super pumped about this book. I can't wait to get deeper. I can't wait to start reading about the police station, about the underground facility, and all that stuff. But I'm not going to get too much into it because I don't want to ruin it for you guys who haven't played the game. But yeah, I'm super pumped to really dive into this a little more. But yeah, guys, Resident Evil, City of the Dead. Hope you guys are enjoying it. It feels great to be back. Thank you guys for just sticking it out with your boy. A lot more videos are coming. Don't worry. I'm going to start making this a regular thing again. It's just, with everything that's been going on the past few weeks. But yeah, your boy's back and he's ready. So, but all right, H0rr0rr, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed reading it for you. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button along with that dingly ding ding button. Now every time your boy Horror Gamer throws up one of these Horror Gamer reads, you're in the know. Also, when you're done doing that, head on over to the Z Network and see what kind of cool stuff we got going on out there. A bunch of us creators got together and created something special for everybody. Then, when all that's said and done with, head on over to wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be Spotify, Google Play, Apple Play. Apple Podcasts. You know what I'm talking about. Wherever you get your podcasts, head on over there and download Horror Haven LLC. Your boy Horror Gamer and his homegirl Gabby Gore every week bring you the best in horror podcasting. We have fun doing it. It's just a blast, guys. So get in on that. Big things are coming on the podcast, too. Just a little hint. But, all right, H0rr0rr. With all that being said, I love you guys. Thank you, guys. And until next time, this is your boy Horror Gamer saying, as always, don't fear the darkness. Embrace it.